Now in this video we are going to look at the production of cassava bread and cassava farine from scratch. Now as we know, or some of us may know, that the cassava root or the cassava plant has been grown in the tropics for hundreds or even thousands of years. Now the cassava, the botanical name for cassava is Manihot esculenta, and it is one of the crops that has been grown for a long time in the tropics. But during the preparation of the products of cassava, it is very important to bear in mind that cassava contains cyanide. And so over a period of time, people have learned how to significantly reduce on the percentage of cyanide in the cassava, reducing it to a percentage that can be consumed by humans. Now, based on some of the information that I saw coming mainly out of Africa, there are generally two ways from a study that I saw in which the cyanide content is reduced. One is they allow, after they take off the skin from the cassava, they allow it to stand for 3 days in order to ferment, and the fermentation process actually reduces on the percentage of cyanide. The other thing that is done is they allow it to stay in or to be treated with water for 3 days, and then they dry it. So these two methods are used to reduce on the percentage of cyanide. There is this man is actually taking off all the fibers from the back of the coconut so that the fibers does not fall into the coconut when he's grating it. Now today, not all of the coconut is going to be used for the cassava bread. The ones in the white tub, he's actually using it for him to make some coconut oil. But the one in the blue is being used to add to the cassava mixture that he's going to use to make the cassava bread. So the actual cassava root, it was scraped, or the back was taken off from it from the day before. And so today they are actually producing the cassava bread and the farine. What we're seeing here now is they are washing the root that has been scraped, and he's actually putting it into the receptive or the reception part of his machine. That machine was specifically designed for him. He purchased the motor, and and the person who designed it engineered it in such a way that it would crush the cassava into very fine particles. It is powered by electricity, and based on our observation, it is doing a very good job. So in order for him to get the products for both the cassava bread and the farine, the cassava root has to be first crushed into this machine, and then we're going to see what happens afterwards. So we see that the machine has been used, and the owner has washed it and has put it on side, and he's going to be using it next time around. So this is what we have after the machine has crushed the cassava root. This is what we have, and a small amount of water will be placed into it before the other steps or the other procedures are done. water now is being placed into the crushed cassava. He's placing even more water. So now he's going to take a piece of cloth. He's going to place now the cassava in the cloth, and he's going to wring the cloth to get off as much liquid as he possibly can. So he's wringing the cloth. He's getting out the starch, getting out the cassava starch. The liquid part, that is, he's getting out the liquid, and then he's going to put the solid in a separate container. He's going to continue this process until all the solid is separated from the liquid. So he's rinsing, just squeezing the liquid starch out, squeezing out the liquid. And the solid is placed in a separate receptacle. Now the solid part is placed in a separate bag, and he is going to compress it further to drain out all the liquid that is still lodged in the solid. So Now, after he has compressed this, the solid in his press, the solid will be used to make the farine, and the liquid part that is left in the other container will be used to make the cassava bread. So what he has there is he has constructed his own press that is going to actually apply some tremendous force to this bag and force out the liquid from the bag. This is what we call applied science and technology. The man has designed his own press to force out the liquid from the solid part of the cassava. So remember this bag? This is the same bag that was just compressed. It just came from the compressor or the compressing device that the gentleman created himself. So what is going to happen now is going to pass this solid through a sieve so that he's going to get only the fine particles, the fine parts that he needs for the farine. So this is also a sieve that he has done, he has constructed himself. So this is how it is. This is how it works. Just from the press, and it is now being is actually rolling it through, rolling it over the sieve, and the fine particles are being sieved through. Now I ask him what does he do with the leftovers, the one that does not pass through the sieve. He's saying that he uses it, he feeds it to his goats. But this is what happens, and this part, the fine, the fine part that we see down here is actually what he's going to be using to make the farine. See how nice it is. So now the cassava that he sieved just a while ago has been placed into this uh, large metal vessel, which is called a platine. And so he's going to move this wooden tool around so that the farine gets distributed throughout the platen and that the heat is distributed through it evenly. So the whole objective here is to dry the cassava into farine. This is very fine. As you see, it was sieved a while ago. And this part is a very laborious or labor intensive part. Is actually moving this farine around so that it gets cooked evenly. They are actually very well trained and acquainted with the process, so they know exactly how long it should be done, and they can, by observation, by just looking at it, they know when it is actually cooked. They use dry wood as a source of fuel to generate the heat necessary to cook the farine. But this part is very labor intensive because the person who's actually mixing the farine, it has to be done continuously to avoid one section being burnt and the other section being undercooked. So it is something that is very labor intensive. But the thing is, they are very trained in the process and they know when exactly it should be taken out. So what is happening there is the excess water is being thrown away from the liquid starch. Recall when the gentleman was using the cloth to separate the solid starch from the liquid. This, what we have in this tub, is what was left from the liquid part. So what they have done there is they have just thrown away the excess water, and this is mainly starch, and this is what they're going to be using to make the cassava bread. During the time when the separation was taking place, that point where the gentleman had that piece of cloth where he was squeezing the liquid and separating it from the solid part. This is the liquid part that was separated from the solid. The liquid part is being used, containing starch also. It is going to be used to make the cassava bread. So this liquid starch, observe she's adding the coconut that was grated. She's adding coconut to the liquid starch as part of the cassava bread making process. And notice or know that there are two types of cassava bread. There is a sweet one, and there is a regular one with salt. So the sweet ones, normally what in her case, what they will do is they will add sugar, they will add essence, and even raisins and cherries. But the one with this, the normal, the regular salt one, these things are not added. It is basically normal mix with the coconut and the liquid starch, and maybe salt and some other ingredients. So notice that she has added sugar. She's now applying her essences. So what we have here is a mixture of the liquid starch, grated coconut, essences. Now please bear in mind, anytime you see sugar is added or the ones with the sugar is specifically for the sweet cassava bread. The ones with the regular cassava bread does not have any sugar. It will not have sugar, it will not have any of the raisins or the essence that they use. But anytime you see that she's applying essence or sugar on those kind of things, it is for sweet cassava. So now she has finished making the cassava bread, and this plantain leaf will be used to place the cassava bread on, and it will be then placed in the platen or the metal receptacle for the cooking process or the baking process. So it will be left into this in this thing until the color changes to the satisfaction of the person who's actually making it. So you can see here she is actually rolling them, rolling the cassava bread and placing them on these leaves, and then they will be placed in a flat kind of platen. I'm not sure if it is a normal procedure, but in this case, the platen that they are using for the cassava bread is flat as compared to the one they're using for the farine, which is more uh, con convex inside. But they're going to keep it in that place until the color changes to a nice brownish color. So you can see that the brown ones are actually cooked, finished, and the other ones are not, but the brown ones are probably finished products. Ingredients to add the sweet taste. But it will be placed on the plant again, the plantain leaves, and it will be placed in the plantain. But these are the sweet ones, and they are made different from the regular cassava. So that's it for the farine. This is the end product for the farine. Nice white farine. This is the end product. And this is the end product for the cassava bread. As you can see, they finished very late. But that's the end product of the cassava bread. The whole process took probably a little over 12 hours. So next time you are charged for the cassava bread and for the farine, be generous and considerate. It takes a whole heap of time. I just want to thank you very much for watching this video, and let's bear in mind that when we see the people walking around selling the cassava and the farine, that it is a lot of work, even from the point of actually growing the cassava. Some of them take 9 to 12 months, and then it takes a whole heap of time, energy, effort, and even some mechanization to produce the cassava bread and the farine. So let's take those things into consideration. And even those people who rob and attack the guys who sell the cassava and the farine, they too need to bear in mind that it takes a whole lot of time, energy, and effort to produce that product that these people have to even work harder to sell. Thank you very much.